they can buy.
No, that's a limitation. Okay, then in the assignment we should give some background. I mean, what's different about the value survey?
Yeah, there's lots of these surveys every year. Value is actually one of the newer ones, but it stands out because it gives figures for a range of the largest urban centres, which none of the others do.
Okay, good point. Then one finding was that New Zealand houses are relatively expensive. Why is that? Because most of them are built of wood, and that's quite cheap.
Yeah, it is. But the problem is there are too many regulations and restrictions about where you can build.
So if more building sites were created for housing, the costs would come down. That's it, isn't it? Because there are plenty of contractors ready to do the work.
Exactly. So, what else?
Well, what about transport? I mean, it's all very well to talk about new housing, but how are people going to get there? Is the survey proposing new roads, new rail networks? It should be a coordinated approach.
Yeah, but the survey didn't mention it. It's a missed opportunity because a commitment to funding public transport from the outset would improve air quality in our cities.
True. Okay then, the next survey, what can we expect? It'll look at all the same places, right?
Exactly the same. But the next one will give an idea of the way prices are moving.
The government may have to think about how house prices are affecting society.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30 on page 7. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Then in the assignment, we need to evaluate how reliable the survey was. So we should look at some of the criticism made by commentators. Okay, so there's the economist Andrew Coleman. He actually questioned whether the survey was money well spent, because it only looked at a single year in isolation.
A year when it was difficult to borrow money to buy a house, pushing up costs. So he thought the survey should consider a longer time frame. Did you get that article by Professor Massey? Because he's the leading authority on this topic.
Yeah, interesting. He realised the method used to calculate how much money people had didn't take savings into account. So actually, people looking for a house were richer than the survey shows, making houses cheaper in real terms.
All right. Then Richard Bernard, his criticism was original. He found out they were using quite outdated software to process all the information they gathered, which was crazy because they actually had the money available for an upgrade. So even though it was a highly regarded team of people, the way the statistics were interpreted was open to question.
Okay, then Professor Lowndes. He thought the report was just badly written.
That's right. After all the work that went into gathering valid information, the finished report was just too long and weakly structured, and there was too much unnecessary detail.
And the last one, Maria Darling. She made a point about the properties that were evaluated.
There weren't enough of them, you mean?
No, it wasn't that. But they were never identified for privacy reasons. But she thought the actual properties used should have been revealed, The process should have been transparent if the people are going to have full confidence in the survey.
Right. So a lot of criticism.
Yeah, but this sort of research is often controversial.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a lecture for teacher trainees on using drama activities in the classroom. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40 on page 8. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
So now we're going to look at some of the reasons why it's beneficial to include drama activities, such as role play, in your teaching practice in a range of subject areas. There's a lot of evidence to show that drama helps a child's personal development. Firstly, creating the space for children to express themselves freely in a group situation helps to give them confidence in their own opinions and ideas. And, of course, drama activities can work especially well for shy or introverted children who usually don't participate in other types of classroom situations. Secondly, unscripted improvisation activities where children work from their imagination, if done in a supportive way, give children the opportunity to gain experience in taking risks and encourage them to say things that they might normally be afraid to say. Drama can also support the child's educational development. For example, the emphasis placed on cooperative activities in drama means that group members must learn the value of listening to one another. Being involved in any sort of performance which relies on everyone working together and playing their part also helps children to be responsible, not only for their learning, but for their general behavior. These are just a couple of ways in which drama can benefit a child's learning. Now I'd like to look at how role play can be such a valuable learning tool in the classroom. The value of role play for children who are having difficulties as a means of therapy is now widely accepted. The experience of doing a role play where children act out aspects of their own life without explicitly stating that it is a direct representation of their own experiences can help children to judge their own behavior in an objective way. One obvious example would be doing a role reversal with a bully role-playing a victim. Because this approach doesn't involve direct confrontation, it may help the bully to see his or her behavior in a different light. More generally, role play also allows the teacher to explore potentially controversial or taboo subjects in a safe setting in which children feel at ease. It's obviously essential for children to feel they won't be criticized or judged for voicing certain views. Getting children to examine their thoughts and opinions carefully can lead to a deeper self-knowledge and a stronger awareness of morality. This is an important factor in developing social skills. Let's look at a specific subject area now and think about how drama can enrich the learning process for the study of history. Bringing characters from the past to life in the classroom by doing classroom drama activities is an easy way to improve the level of the children's participation in the lesson. So, drama in the history classroom makes for a livelier atmosphere, but getting children to reenact scenes from history can also be extremely useful, as it helps them to remember what happened and why it was important, as well as helping to bring the past alive. Another way of doing this is to ask children to find solutions to historical problems using role play. This can help to focus attention on why certain decisions were taken. For example, children can be asked to decide how best to defend their town from attack or where to build a new settlement. Okay, what I'd like to do now is to think about your next teaching practice session and in groups discuss how you would incorporate an element of drama into your lesson plan.
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers. That is the end of the listening test.